need a cork bottle opener, which is why it took me a while to get this. I'm not much of a wine drinker. Beer is actually the way to go for me. So, yeah. It's a nice little cork. And Framboise smells delicious, and you can always mix it in with a darker beer and make a half and half. It's pretty good. Just top off one of your beers with some Framboise. It's very sweet and tart. It's delicious. Alright, so you just want to do that much. We're just trying to melt the butter here. You don't want to heat up all the beer. And while that's melting, we'll mix in all our dry ingredients. So the recipe calls for 2 cups of flour. So we're going to do 1 cup of whole wheat flour. And 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Although you can just do all-purpose flour if you like. I like mixing them up. Okay, that's a bit too much. Alright. And we're going to use yeast. I don't know if you've read any recipes, but you can kill yeast. What? Yeast? You can kill it? Yeah, it's actually live. You keep it in the fridge or the freezer. I keep mine in the freezer. But usually you don't want to expose it to anything higher than 80. So we're going to monitor our temperature here, just like making beer. Alright, so the recipe calls for 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. That's an interesting number. Alright, but we'll mix it in with our dry ingredients. I just prefer mixing it that way. It mixes more evenly, in my opinion. 1, 2, and 1/4. There we go. We got our yeast in there. Oh, yeah, that's the size of an envelope, and most recipes usually call for an envelope. You can learn a lot by reading. God forbid anyone starts reading now. They might learn too much. Just kidding. Okay, it also asks you to set aside 1/2 cup of flour. So I'm actually going to set aside a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. But then she uses a 1/3 cup of rye flour because she just wants to throw it in for flavor. I actually want to try cooking with barley flour, but I don't have that. So 1/2 plus 1/3 is 1/3, 6 is 5/6. So it's nearly 1 extra cup that you're setting aside. And as you can see, my cup's all dirty because I just dislike washing. Alright, I think my butter is melted. And you can whisk that in. Whisk, 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 whisk. And we need to add 1 more 1/3 cup of beer. Oh, it smells delicious. You gotta make sure all your butter melts. There's no more, mix it until there's no more solid left in there. So you just want to make sure that your beer isn't too warm. And we're gonna add 1/3 cup of Framboise to the melted mixture. It's a little fizzy. You might want to pour it like a beer should be poured, but I'm being kind of, I don't know, lazy maybe. Alright. I kind of let the beer cool for a bit longer than probably I should have, so we're going to check the temperature. If I could only find my thermometer. It's about 70. Yeah. More or less 70. I might need it up just a tad bit more because let it cool too long. I would say 80 is like ideal. Butter, beer, flour, sugar. It calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar, but I'm gonna use honey. Why so little sugar? That's a good question. Anyway, you don't want this to be there that long. Because usually the sugar is just used to feed the yeast. Yeast feeds on sugar. Well, it didn't quite change, but since it's not anywhere over the limit where it would be killed, I'm completely fine with it. So I'm going to mix it with my wet mixture because it's honey. And yeah, usually this goes with the dry ingredients, but like I said, you know, I think because it's so viscous, it's not going to mix well, so you want to mix it in with a hot or warm mixture so it can mix more or less evenly. Okay, we need 2 large eggs. Oh, 1 teaspoon of salt. Teaspoon. I have my half teaspoon measurement. I've got everything all mixed up here, so sorry for the disorganization. Okay, so we have our flour, our yeast, and our salt in this mix. Okay. And we have our honey, beer, and butter in this mix. So it asks for you to put it in a machine and knead it, but I do not have a machine. So I'm gonna mix it by hand. No, not by hand, but with my mixer thingy. Here it is. Mix that in well. And it smells delicious already. Anyway, I've been mixing the mixture up and adding some of the flour left in this cup because that's what the recipe tells us to do. And I just remembered why I don't use wheat flour. Because if you're kneading bread, it actually gets a lot harder quicker. So it's a lot less manageable to work with. So in turn, you have to add more liquid to keep it kind of a doughy, like, soft mixture. So I'm just gonna pour in some framboise to the mixture. May have been too much, but since I still have a lot of flour, it doesn't matter. And originally I was using my, I think this is a pastry blender, but it's not very good when you're making bread. This is good for pie crusts. And you know, back when they didn't have machines, everyone was kneading by hand, so might as well do it the old way because I don't have a machine to help me with this task. Oh, that looks a lot better. Yeah, so if you're going to use wheat, you're going to have to use a lot more liquid. So don't use wheat unless you really want to. Or you can make a mix just like I did and make a big mess. But it should come out good. Yep. Just keep kneading it. I don't know if any of you have ever made dough before. Oh, geez, spill everything while you're there. But you need it, you really have to get into it. And you gotta punch it and whatnot. So, just wanted to show you what I've been doing. And look, I have about, I guess, a 1/3 cup of flour left over. Okay, well, I'm trying to save my recipe now. I remembered I forgot to add the eggs. So I had just added 2 eggs. Remember, I had about a 1/3 cup of flour left? We're gonna mix that in too. Anyway, you wanna add the eggs to the mixture right, you can probably add them right into the wet ingredients where your beer and butter are at, or you can add them first to your dry ingredients and then add all your wet ingredients. Alright, here's my dough update. See, it looks nice and pretty now. I can actually work with it. It kind of feels like a pizza dough, which is probably what should have been in the first place. But every now and again I'm just sprinkling flour to kind of fix it. If you want, you can mess it up. Do what I did, add the eggs after. It's up to you. Looks nice. It looks like a ball, but we still have to let it rest so the yeast can do its thing. Punch it, knead it, roll it into a nice little ball, and see. You see it? Look. It doesn't break apart right away. It pulls, which is good because we're going to have to roll it out. Alright. There's your ball in the bowl, and it's just going to be covered. And soon after, I'm going to roll it and add the rest of the ingredients. Alright, well, you want your dough ball to get larger, preferably double, and when you press it, it should come back to its original shape. Alright, so now we have to roll it, which is not very fun because I'm not very good at rolling. Okay, let's flatten this out a bit before I begin to roll it. You want to sprinkle flour on your rolling mat or surface, whatever, to keep it from sticking. It's kind of like making a pizza in a way, but not necessarily, because we need to make a rectangle now. We need a 9x5 because that's where we're going to put it in when you're nearly done. Alright. Sometimes lifting and letting gravity do the work does better stretching than you.